Hello students, I am Inderjit Singh, PGT Bio from KV Sector 31 Chandigarh. Today we are going to start the next topic related to human production, that is gametogenesis. In this topic we are going to study about the spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Then the next topic will be menstrual cycle, and this we will study about the various changes which occurs in the female uterus, in the ovary, and the role of different pituitary and ovarian hormones. And the last topic in this topic is that is fertilization. And fertilization is a process in which the fusion of male and female gametes occur. So first we will start with gametogenesis. Gametogenesis क्या होता है? It's a process in which formation of male and female gamete occurs. कि यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? मेल और फीमेल गैमीट का फॉर्मेशन हो रहा है. अगर मेल गैमीट का फॉर्मेशन हो रहा है तो इसको हम स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस कहते हैं. दैट इज द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ मेल गैमीट इन ह्यूमन इज नोन एज स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस एंड द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ फीमेल गैमीट इज नोन एज oogenesis. सो फर्स्ट वी विल स्टडी अबाउट द स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस, दैट इज स्पर्म कैसे फॉर्म होता है मेल्स में. जो फॉर्मेशन ऑफ स्पर्मेटोजोआ होते हैं वो कहाँ होती है? इट टेक्स प्लेस इन द टेस्टिस बिकॉज इट इज द प्राइमरी सेक्स ऑर्गन. और ये जो प्रोसेस होता है इट स्टार्ट्स विद द प्यूबर्टी एंड इन मेल प्यूबर्टी इज अटेन एट द एज ऑफ 12 to 14 years. So in human males, after attaining of puberty, formation of spermatozoa occurs in the testes and the process is known as spermatogenesis. In the testes, the immature male germ cells are there and these germ cells are known as spermatogonia, and these germs are diploid in nature, and these germ cells undergo meiosis and they produce spermatozoa, and the production of sperms from these male germ cell is known as spermatogenesis. And these spermatogonia are present on the inside wall of seminiferous tubules where they undergo mitotic division and they get increased in number, and out of these some spermatogonia behave like primary spermatocytes. That's mean these spermatogonia undergo mitotic division and lead to the production of primary spermatocytes. These are diploid in structure. That's mean the chromosome number in spermatogonia as well as the primary spermatocyte will be 46 in number. Now these primary spermatocytes undergo the meiosis. So they undergo meiotic division, and first meiotic division lead to the production of secondary spermatocytes, and these secondary spermatocytes are haploid cells. So that means they have a chromosome number half in comparison to that of primary spermatocyte. As we know that in case of primary spermatocytes the number of chromosomes were 46, but in case of secondary spermatocytes they have only 23 chromosomes. So when primary spermatocyte undergo first meiotic division, it will produce two secondary spermatocyte having half the chromosome number which is present in primary spermatocyte, and that will be 23 chromosome. Now these secondary spermatocytes undergo the second meiotic division, and when they undergo second meiotic division they lead to the formation of 4 equal haploid spermatids. Then these spermatids are transformed into spermatozoa, that is sperms, by the process called as spermiogenesis. So that means the spermatids undergo differentiation and that lead to the formation of spermatozoa. After that these spermatozoa undergo spermiation. So that is release of spermatozoa from the seminiferous tubule. Prior to that these sperm heads become embedded in this Sertoli cell and finally they are released from there, from the seminiferous tubule, and the process is called as spermiation. Now we will look about the spermatogenesis. There is one diagrammatical section view of seminiferous tubule which is telling about the different stages, and the another is schematic representation of spermatogenesis. In this diagram, that is the sectional view of a seminiferous tubule, we will see the different stages of spermatogenesis in the seminiferous tubule. So this is the germinal epithelium. These are the germ cells, or also known as the spermatogonia. So these are diploid in nature. So that's mean they have a chromosome number double. Then the next structure is that is the primary spermatocytes. Primary spermatocytes are from the spermatogonia. When these spermatogonia undergo mitotic division, that lead to the formation of primary spermatocytes. Again, these primary spermatocytes are diploid in nature. So that's when they again have 46 number of chromosomes. Then these primary spermatocytes undergo meiotic division. The first meiotic division, and that lead to the formation of two secondary spermatocytes. And these two secondary spermatocytes have haploid chromosome number. So that's mean the chromosome number get reduced to half. That's mean in primary spermatocyte it was 46. Now in secondary spermatocyte it get reduced to 23. So 23 chromosome number will be present in each secondary spermatocyte. Now these secondary spermatocyte undergoes second meiotic division, and that lead to the formation of the next structure that is known as spermatids. These spermatids are 4 in number. They are haploid in nature. So that's when again they have a chromosome number 24. Then these spermatids undergo differentiation, and when they undergo differentiation, they lead to the formation of male gametophyte, which is known as male gamete, which is known as spermatozoa. So these are the different stages which are shown in the sectional view of the seminiferous tubule. Now this is the schematic representation of spermatogenesis. So these are spermatogonia which undergo mitosis, and that lead to the formation of primary spermatocyte. Then it undergo first meiotic division, the chromosome number get reduced to half, that lead to the formation of two secondary spermatocyte. Then it undergoes second meiotic division, that lead to the formation of 4 spermatids. Since spermatids are totally different from spermatozoa, they have to undergo differentiation, and the process is known as spermiogenesis. So this is about the schematic representation of spermatogenesis. Now this is the hormonal control of spermatogenesis. Now the different hormones are responsible for controlling the spermatogenesis, and these hormones are gonadotropin, which are released from the pituitary gland, and then these hormones lead to the production of male hormone, that is testosterone. So under the influence of these hormones, production of testosterone occurs in the interstitial cells, and from these hormones it bring about different changes in the physiology of the human. Now let's study about the hormonal control. The release of gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus stimulates the interior pituitary to release hormones, that is luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormones. First we will study about the role of follicle stimulating hormone. These follicle stimulating hormones reaches the testes, and there they act on the seminiferous tubules, and that lead to the formation of spermatozoa by the process of spermatogenesis and spermiogenesis. It also secrete inhibin. The secretion on inhibin, when the amount or the number of spermatozoa are more, then it acts as control center. That's mean it will give a negative feedback to the FSH, and that lead to the stopping of the releasing of follicle stimulating hormone from the interior pituitary gland. Now the next is the secretion of luteinizing hormone. The luteinizing hormones act on the interstitial cells, and that lead to the secretion of testosterone. Now this testosterone is responsible for the maintenance of accessory glands and organs. It affects the CNS, stimulation of bones and muscle growth, establishment and maintenance of male secondary sex character. So that's mean this hormone is also known as the sex hormone, and this hormone is responsible for maintaining of secondary sexual characters in male. So this is about the hormonal control of spermatogenesis. Now this is the diagram which is showing the spermiogenesis and the structure of a spermatozoa. So if you see that it undergoes differentiation, this is the spermatid which is 1 week, then it undergo differentiation, so it's changes morphologically as well as physiologically, and ultimately it lead to the formation of spermatozoa. Now we will study about the structure of the spermatozoa. Now this is the typical structure of a sperm or a spermatozoa. It consists of three parts: the head part, the second is the neck part, and the last is the tail part. So these are the part of sperm. Head consists of acrosome and nucleus containing chromosomal material. All the part of the sperms are enclosed by a plasma membrane. Now the next part is the neck part. So this is the neck part, and then this is the middle piece. In the neck part, centrioles are present, and in the middle place, coiled mitochondria are present. Since mitochondria is the energy source, so they produce energy, and this energy is utilized by the tail for the swimming or for the motility of the sperm. So this is about the male gametes, that is the sperm. Now we move to the next topic, that is the gametogenesis in female. The process of formation of female gametes or ova in ovary is known as oogenesis. So फीमेल में क्या होता है, जब एग का फॉर्मेशन होता है या ओवम का फॉर्मेशन होता है इन द ओवरी, द प्रोसेस इज नोन एज oogenesis. Now it is different from spermatogenesis, since spermatogenesis starts after attaining the puberty age, but in case of female, oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic developmental stage. So that's mean when the female is in the fetal stage, it will produce large number of gamete mother cell, that is oogonia. So the oogonias are formed within each fetal ovary, and no more oogonia are formed and added after birth. So that's mean the number of oogonia are already fixed inside the fetal ovary during its embryonic development. क्या मतलब कि जो ओवम प्रोड्यूस होंगे फ्रॉम oogonia या oogonia जो एक ओवरी में होते हैं, वो बच्चा पैदा होने से पहले ही फीटल की ओवरी में प्रोड्यूस हो जाते हैं, उसके बाद कोई भी oogonia प्रोड्यूस नहीं होता. देन द oogonia starts division, so they undergo meiotic division and enter into prophase of meiotic division and get temporarily arrested at that stage called primary oocytes. So they are going the division and they remain in that state till they attain the puberty age. Each primary oocyte then gets surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells and then called the primary follicle. So these oocytes are get covered by cells known as granulosa cell, और उसके कारण किसका फॉर्मेशन होता है, प्राइमरी फॉलिकल्स. फिर इसी प्राइमरी फॉलिकल सेल्स पे और सेल्स जुड़ जाते हैं, तो वो नेक्स्ट स्टेज पे पहुंच जाता है, दैट इज सेकेंडरी फॉलिकल. अब क्या होता है, जब प्यूबर्टी अटेन होती है तो उससे पहले बहुत सारे जो फॉलिकल्स होते हैं वो डीजनरेट हो जाते हैं. So the large number of these follicles degenerate during the phase from birth to puberty, and we use a specific term for that, and that term is known as follicular atresia. So the term follicular atresia is used. Therefore, after attaining puberty, the number of follicles, that is primary follicles, get reduced in female due to degeneration. Therefore, at puberty, only 60 to 80,000 primary follicles are left in each ovary. Then these ovary, so the ovary has round about 60 to 80,000 of primary follicles. Now these primary follicles get surrounded by more layers of granulosa cells and a new theca and are called secondary follicle cells. Then these secondary follicle cells get transformed into tertiary follicles, having a fluid filled cavity known as antrum. Then it undergo further changes and ultimately it gets transformed into graphene follicle, or also known as mature follicle. The primary oocyte within the tertiary follicles grow in size and complete its first meiotic division, and that lead to the production of secondary oocyte and first polar body. This division is irregular division. So that's mean here the distribution of content is not equal. Here the distribution of nuclear content is equal. That's mean they will get the same number of chromosomes, but the cytoplasmic content is not equally distributed among themselves. So the two cells will be produced, one large haploid secondary oocyte having a large amount of cytoplasm, and the second is tiny first polar body which is having a just sheer layer of cytoplasm. Now the next is that is secondary oocyte forms a new membrane called zona pellucida surrounding it. So a new layer is formed around the secondary oocyte which is known as zona pellucida. Now the graphene follicle is fully mature. It ruptures to release the secondary oocyte or the ovum by the process known as ovulation. It occurs at the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. Then the secondary oocyte starts its second meiotic division, but it is suspended in metaphase 2 until sperms enter eggs. So this is the diagrammatic section view of ovaries depicting different stages of the follicular cells. So these are the primary follicles. It has a layer of granulosa cells. Then it gets transformed into secondary follicles. More layer of granulosa cells are laid. Then it becomes into tertiary. A fluid-filled cavity known as antrum is there. Then it gets transformed into graphene follicle. Here the primary oocyte undergo meiotic division, that is first meiotic division, and that lead to the production of secondary oocyte, and the division is unequal. Then this is mature graphene follicle which ruptured, and that lead to the releasing of ovum. This ruptured graphene follicles undergo changes and lead to the production of a yellow body known as corpus luteum. This corpus luteum is responsible for the production of progesterone, which is also known as the pregnancy hormone. And this is the schematic representation of oogenesis. So oogonia undergo mitosis and they lead to the production of primary oocyte, and this happens during the fetal stage. Then primary oocytes undergo first meiotic division, that lead to the production of secondary oocyte and a tiny body known as first polar body. Then secondary oocytes undergo second meiotic division, and this meiotic division occurs after the entry of sperm. So here the chromosome number is 46. That's mean oogonia and primary oocytes are diploid in nature, while secondary oocyte and the ovum are haploid in nature. Now this is about the hormonal control of oogenesis. So now we will study about the now this is about the hormonal control of oogenesis. So different hormones are responsible for controlling the oogenesis. Hypothalamus release gonadotropin releasing hormones, and these hormones act on the interior pituitary gland, that lead to the production of follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone. Now the follicle stimulating hormones are responsible for the development of follicle cells and secretion of inhibin, and these developing follicle cells leads to the production of estrogen, and the secretion of LH when the graphene follicle rupture, it acts on the corpus luteum, and that lead to the production of progesterone from the corpus luteum. Now the estrogen is also known as the female sex hormone, because this hormone is responsible for the establishment and maintenance of secondary sexual characteristics. It affects the CNS, stimulation of bones and muscles growth. It is maintenance, responsible for maintenance of accessory glands and organ, and it is also responsible for stimulation of endometrial growth and secretion. So these are the different hormones. Again, the hormonal control of oogenesis based on negative feedback. Whenever the secretion of these hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone, increases, it gives a negative feedback to the hypothalamus, and that lead to the production or release of gonadotropin inhibiting hormone, and that prevents the secretion of FSH and LH. So that's why it controls the oogenesis. So this is about the oogenesis. So next we move towards the next topic, that is menstrual cycle. Now what is this menstrual cycle? It's a kind of a cyclic changes which takes place inside the uterus of a female, and this cycle occurs in case of female primates, for example monkeys, apes and human beings, and this cycle is known as the menstrual cycle. When the menstrual cycles begin at puberty in females, we use a term that is menarche. So that is, the first menstruation begins at puberty is called as menarche. In human females, menstruation is repeated at an average interval of about 28 or 29 days, and the events starting from one menstruation till the next one is called as the menstrual cycle. So during the menstrual cycle, one ovum is released during the middle of each menstrual cycle, and the different events that takes place in the menstrual cycles are menstrual phase, in which the menstruation occurs. Then the second is the follicular or the proliferative phase, in which the differentiation of follicles occurs. Then the third one is the ovulatory phase, in which the ovulation occurs, and the last one is the secretory or the luteal phase, in which the vascularization of endometrium occurs. So these are the different stages of the menstrual cycles. We will see these stages in this diagrammatic presentation of menstrual cycles. So this is the first phase, that is the menstrual phase of the menstruation, which lasts for 3 to 5 days, in which the endometrium walls get shed off along with the blood vessels and the unfertilized ovum. So here the shedding occurs, and then next is the follicular phase. This is the phase from 7 to 14 days, in which follicles division occurs. That's mean that the follicle cells, they become fully mature and get converted into graphene follicles. Then this is the 14th day, which is just mid of the menstrual cycle. In this phase, ovulation occurs, that is rupturing of graphene follicle, and that lead to the release of secondary oocyte of the ovum. Then the next is the luteal phase or the secretory phase, in which the endometrium become highly vascularized and it become highly thickened. So in this phase, the uterus prepare itself for the implantation of the fetus, and the hormone which is responsible for the maintenance of thick endometrium is the hormone secreted from the corpus luteum, that is progesterone. So these are the different stages shown by a diagrammatic presentation of a menstrual cycle. Now the next phase, that is follicular phase. The primary follicles in the ovary grow to become fully mature graphene follicle. Simultaneously, an endometrium of the uterus regenerates through proliferation of its cells. These changes are due to increases in the level of pituitary hormone, that is the follicle stimulating and luteinizing hormone, and the ovarian hormone estrogen. So that's mean यहाँ पे 3 hormones are responsible for the regeneration of the endometrium, that is follicle stimulating, luteinizing hormone and the estrogen. Follicle stimulating hormones control the follicular phase. It stimulates the growth of the follicles and the secretion of estrogen by the growing follicle. Both LH and FSH attain a peak level in the middle of cycle, that is about the 14th. So there will be certain surge in the level of these hormones. So we will see peaks at that time, that is at the 14th day, and that lead to the ovulation. ovulation. So the next phase is the ovulatory phase. The peak level of LH, called LH surge, induces the rupture of the mature Graafian follicle. So that's when there is a peak in the luteinizing hormone level that lead to the rupturing of the Graafian follicle and thereby release of secondary oocyte. And this process is called as ovulation. Now the next step is the luteal phase or the secretory phase. Now the ruptured Graafian follicles get transformed into corpus luteum, and this corpus luteum is responsible for the secretion of large quantity of progesterone hormone, and this progesterone hormone is responsible for the thickening of endometrium, and the gland starts creating a fluid in the uterus. So that's why during this phase endometrium become highly vascularized. In the absence of fertilization, the corpus luteum start degenerating, and this leads to the degeneration of the endometrium lining, and due to this disintegration of the endometrium lining leads to the menstruation. So the ceasing of the menstrual cycle is known as menopause, and it occurs usually at the age of 45 to 50 years of age. So this is all about your menstrual cycle. Now we move to the last topic of this topic, that is fertilization. Fertilization, what is fertilization? So fertilization is the fusion of male and female gamete. So fusion of male and female gamete is known as fertilization. Here in case of human, the fusion of male and female gamete, that is sperm and ova. Now there are different steps which are involved in the fusion of male gamete. So what happens during fertilization? So the first step is the copulation. During copulation, the semen is released by the penis into the vagina, and the process is known as insemination. So after the copulation, semen will be released inside the vagina. There the sperms will become motile and they will swim rapidly, and from there they pass through the cervix, enter into the uterus, and finally they reach the ampullary isthmic junction of the fallopian tube. The ovum is released by the ovary. It is also transported to the ampullary isthmic junction where fertilization takes place. So the site of fertilization is ampullary isthmic junction. तो अब हमें मालूम है कि फर्टिलाइजेशन कहाँ होती है. फर्टिलाइजेशन एम्पुलरी इस्थमिक जंक्शन पे होती है, और ये कहाँ पे लाई करता है? इट लाइज इन द फैलोपियन ट्यूब, एंड द प्रोसेस ऑफ फ्यूजन ऑफ स्पर्म विद एन ओवम इज कॉल्ड fertilization. Now what happens during fertilization? When the sperms comes in contact with the zona pellucida layer of the ova, that is, it is the protective covering around the ovum. When it comes in contact with the sperm, that is the first sperm, it induces in the changes of the membrane of the ovum, and that block the further entry of the additional sperms. So that's mean when the first sperms gain entry inside the ova, it form a impermeable membrane which blocks the additional sperms entry. So that's mean it prevent polyspermy. The secretion of the acrosomes helps the sperm enter into the cytoplasm. As we know that acrosome contains different kinds of hydrolytic enzymes, and these enzymes lead to the dissolving of this membrane of the ovum, and there it gain entry inside the ovum. This induces the completion of the meiotic division of the secondary oocyte. So when the sperm gain entry inside the secondary oocyte, the arrested meiotic division starts, and that lead to the formation of second polar body and ovum. Soon the haploid nucleus of the sperms and that of the ovum fuse together to form a diploid structure, and this diploid structure is known as zygote. And with this we complete the fertilization process. So this is all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.